I am a mortician and I have just found out that my assistant has been eating the corpses. My name is Ellis and I'm the mortician of a small mortuary in a rather sleepy, medium-sized town in Western England. A few months ago, I received an assistant named Brett. He's a tall, lanky guy with shaggy, deep black hair and a rather gaunt face, with a wide mouth and thin lips. I was surprised when I first met him, because of how closely he resembled the creepy, vampiric gravedigger stereotype you'd see in some gothic horror movie or something. But he seemed a pretty nice guy. He was pleasant and talkative, and he was very empathetic when talking to grieving family members and showing them the right resources to go to help them through the difficult process. These past few weeks, there had been incidents of body parts going missing from the cadavers. Mainly eyes and fingers, as well as other things, like blood-covered gauze and bandages. Brett had chalked it up to rats and mice sneaking into the morgue and scavenging from the corpses and the bio-waste bins. I had agreed with him and took the proper precautions to prevent it from happening again, getting an exterminator and all that, and the exterminator had claimed to have not found any evidence of a rodent infestation on the premises. But the body part snatching persisted and eventually an entire fucking hand went missing from a cadaver, and the dead man's family was fuming when I told them about it. Brett threw out his rodent infestation theory and instead said that it might be a bigger animal, like a fox that had snuck in and made a den somewhere in the building. So I searched the entire building, every nook and cranny, and didn't find any evidence for a fox. I started to freak out now, started thinking up all kinds of theories on what might be causing the problem. But last night, I finally found the root of the problem. And the root was Brett himself. I feel sick to my stomach. Horrified by the fact that I have been around this guy for so long, chummy with him, completely unaware of his true nature and the horrific stuff that he's been doing. Here is how I found out. If you're squeamish, I don't recommend reading this. We had just received the body of a drowning victim. Female, mid-20s, she'd gone on a midnight swim in the local river, during a goddamn storm, with her boyfriend, while they were both drunk off their asses. Unsurprisingly, it didn't end well. Brett was quieter than usual today. He was looking paler too, paler than he already was. His eyes were looking very bloodshot too, like he hadn't slept in a good while. I asked him if he was alright, and he said he was fine, that he was just a bit under the weather. So we got to preparing the body, removing the blood and embalming it and all that. Then we moved the body into one of the refrigeration units. Then I went off to go and prepare an obituary for the woman, and I told Brett to clean the surgical equipment. While I was writing up the obituary, the electricity started to go on the fritz because of the storm and eventually it shut off completely. I was later told that one of the power lines had been struck by a bolt of lightning. I was understandably beyond pissed off at this. But luckily, we had a portable backup generator. The problem was it had to be manually switched on, meaning I had to brave the pelting rain outside to rejuvenate the power inside the building. After switching it on, I dried myself off and went to go and check on Brett. He had only cleaned about a quarter of the equipment, the rest of it was still filthy. I noticed the surgical saw was missing too. It began to dawn on me then, as much as I did not want to believe it. I slowly walked to the refrigeration room, my mind wrestling with itself, as I tried to think up some rational reasons for why Brett had taken the saw, and tried to fight off the possibility that he may have had something to do with the missing body parts. I peeked into the refrigeration room. The unit that we had stored the woman's body inside was partially open. Now feeling very anxious, I hesitantly approached the unit and then slowly edged it open. The woman's eyes and her entire fucking forearm were missing. There was no doubt about it now, Brett was the culprit. I should have called the police then and there, but irrational anger, and an overwhelming feeling of betrayal, encouraged me to confront Brett myself. I just wanted to know what the hell he was doing and why. Why was he doing something so goddamn ghoulish? I stormed out of the refrigeration room and screamed Brett's name. I roared that I now knew what he had been doing, and demanded that he come to me and explain himself. But I received no reply. Hissing curses under my breath, I began my search. I thought to check the bathroom first. He was probably hiding out in there somewhere, doing God knows what with the body parts he'd torn off the woman. I braced myself before opening the door. The bathroom was quite dimly lit because the ceiling light had been on the fritz, and the power cut likely had not helped either. There were only 2 stalls. I checked the first one and found it empty. Then I checked the second one and found it to be locked. I banged on the door and shouted, "Brett, get out here now. I know you've been the one fucking stealing the body parts. Get out here now before I call the police." I received no answer. I hit the door again. "Brett. I mean it." But still, he didn't answer. Damn it. I crouched down to look underneath the door and Christ, what I saw in there will fucking haunt me for the rest of my life. It was the woman's forearm, only now it was a torn, ravaged mess. Most of the meat from the wrist up was gone. I covered my mouth and tried to stop myself from gagging as I reached out with my other hand to grab the arm. Just what the hell had Brett done to it? As I brought it close to my face, I soon discovered, to my complete horror, why Brett had been stealing the body parts. There were teeth marks on the forearm. Jesus fucking Christ. I threw the forearm on the floor and rushed to the door, but then I saw something in the shadowy corner of the bathroom. It was Brett. How did I miss him when I came in? He was flat up against the wall, and had this very blank look on his face, and a glazed over look in his eyes. His mouth and his cheeks were wet and small bits of meat were stuck to his skin and lips. He looked like he was barely breathing. Brett? I called out to him. My voice seemed to break him out of his fugue state, and he turned to me. He started to look around rapidly and pant, like he was having panic attack, and then he went completely still when he saw the chewed up forearm in the middle of the bathroom. Brett. What the fuck have you been doing? He looked at me and he started to stammer. Ellis, I can't help it. I just go into a. Brett, you've been fucking eating dead bodies. Christ. You're a goddamn cannibal, I shouted at him. He tensed up a bit, and for a brief moment, I saw anger flash in his dull green eyes. I can't help it, Brett. I space out an I. No, Brett. I'm calling the police, you need serious fucking help, man. I turned around and went to open the door, but Brett grabbed me from behind and fucking pulled me from the floor, and then slammed me onto the wall. Shit, he was way stronger than he looked. You're not calling anybody, Ellis, he hissed at me. God, I'd never noticed how jagged his teeth were. I kneed him in the stomach, and he recoiled away from me. I sprinted towards the door, opened it and then ran out into the corridor. I heard the bathroom door slam open behind me, and Brett start screaming at the top of his lungs. I ran into my office, locked the door and pushed a filing cabinet in front of it for good measure. I grabbed the phone and started to dial 999. I heard Brett behind the door, he started wrenching the handle. But when that failed, he started slamming himself against the door, so hard that the fucking filing cabinet started shaking. Brett was screaming like a fucking wildman. I heard the receiver over the phone. I need help. I'm the mortician at the Shelldale funeral home. My assistant's gone fucking psycho. I'm hiding out in my office and he's trying to knock the door down. I suddenly heard a loud crunch come from the door. I looked and saw the blade of an axe peeking through the jagged hole it had made in the door. Brett had gotten the fucking fire axe. He punched his hand through the hole and pushed filing cabinet out of the way. I just dropped the phone and ran to the window, pulled it open and dived out, just in time too, as I heard Brett tear open the door. I ran across the car park. Whether Brett was chasing me, I didn't know, because I didn't want to look back to find out. I just fucking sprinted towards my car, dived in and sped away from the mortuary. I just drove home after that, locked all my doors and waited for the police to show up. When they did, they took me to local station to ask me a few questions, because Brett was long gone by the time the police arrived at the mortuary. I told them all about what Brett had been doing. The body part stealing, the dead body cannibalism, how he'd gone savage and tried to kill me with an axe. I've just been holed up inside my house since and I haven't dared go back to the mortuary. The police are currently on a manhunt for Brett, but they still haven't located him. I just really fucking hope I don't have to see him ever again. What really creeps me out about this whole thing is how Brett was so easily able to hide his activities from me for so long. How he was able to so perfectly wear this mask of normalcy and likability. Well, I guess as the saying goes, you think you know a guy,